And okay, so before I start, a very quick poll. How many of us here have used Rapido at least once? Thank you so much. So you can see that, at least in Bangalore, you have a good fan following, and I can tell you the same. I come from Delhi, and I told you that for what you have done and what we are going to delve into a little later, has actually made us all, uh, you know, really the time that we used to wait for the taxi or the cab or the auto to come has drastically gone down because of the models that you have recently introduced, which has also led some others to adopt that model also. So I guess you also like to use Rapido service, right? So I mean, is it really to follow how the drivers are behaving, how the service is really? What's the point there?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me, and good to see that almost 80% of this room used Rapido. Coincidentally, today I used 3 times, and also coincidentally, I used bike, auto, and cab, all the three in the same day, right? So it because of different needs. So because I stay pretty far from where it is happening, so I came by a cab. I stay pretty close to the office, so in the morning I went on a bike, and then I had a meeting, so I went on a auto in between, right? So definitely, I use multiple service on a very regular basis. And it's just not me; it is all the leadership team, and not just as a customers, but also as a captains. So we go on ground as a captain, taking multiple rides, and talking to customers to understand what are we doing right and how can we improve the service. Because to be frank, if you look at what we are doing and how we have started, it is not so different from what it is already existed before us. It's just that we have done things differently, right? So, and hence the biggest USP is we just keep our ears on the ground and make sure that we listen to both the customers and captains in an equal way and give value to both sides of marketplace. So it's just a solving problem and making sure the ride comes to you at the shortest time and at the same time at the best price possible.
Very subtly, you have given a very good advice that, you've done things differently. That sounds, everyone I'm sure knows this phrase. Just a quick fun question. Kabhi captain ban ke gaye ya passenger ban ke? Have you been like identified by any of these, and have they, like, what have been their reaction or something? Has it happened ever?
Uh, Never, no one realized me. I'm not a public figure, so people don't recognize me. But only one funny incident that happened is I booked a cab, I think 3 months back from an airport. While coming to my house, the captain said, "Sir, I have seen you somewhere." Then I was like, "No way, you can see me." So for the entire 1 hour, he couldn't recognize me. Finally, I didn't tell him that I'm a founder of Rapido, but that's the closest possible that happened, that someone recognized, but he didn't recognize me as a founder of Rapido. He just recognized me as someone who has seen in some YouTube video.
Yeah, I know you keep your head down and you believe in building the business, I guess. But tell me something. So while all you've been taking these rides or working as a captain, so has there been some pain points that you realized which actually you went back to the drawing board or your teammates and then you solved for it? If there is an example you can share which really changed your perception of how you are doing business.
Yeah, definitely a lot of minor improvements for sure. Given you use the beauty of Rapido product for anyone who works in Rapido is whatever you can use the product that you're building on regular basis. You do some change today, and you can feel the impact of that the next day or the next hour, right? So you find a lot of whenever you find something is not right as a user. It immediately goes to the team, and there is a Slack channels and WhatsApp groups in terms of the feedback. And there, it's just not about, again, me. It's about the entire team at Rapido or leadership at Rapido. We have an internal program called Drives of Discovery as well, which is just making everyone as a part of either as a customer or a captain and making sure they give feedback, and it is taken. So there are multiple things, but it is taken pretty seriously, irrespective of whether it's a founder or some team member is giving that feedback.
So, I mean, I had this question towards the end, but since we're talking about it, I'll probably ask you, is there a formal feedback action, taking mechanism that you follow? Because you're facing the consumers every day. What's the number? 3 million rights? So 3 million rights, yeah? So I'm sure that you're flooded with every sort of complaints, grievances, appreciation also. Is there a mechanism that you've put in place?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that we realized is, especially when you're operating a consumer internet business at scale, I mean, just in last 1 month, we did 100 million rides. So 10 crore customers or 10 crore rides that we have done, and probability of happening even at, let's say, even at 1% or 0.1% in terms of grievances in whatever way. A lot of these things is how do you build systems at scale. So even though we are present in 250 cities throughout the country, the kind of operations team that we have and the way that we have built systems is we manage the entire 250 cities with less than 200 people on ground. So it is possible because we build systems at scale. In some way, a lot of, for a business like us, ideally COVID would have been a huge impact as a business because our business went to zero for almost 6 months during COVID. But during those 6 months, we have rewritten the entire systems and making sure that we are ready for scale. And then once things came back to normal, like we accelerated the growth crazily, and then that's how we became the #1 ride-sharing platform throughout the country. So important thing is how do you automate automate the operations and automate the feedback loop that comes from the customers and the captains, and make sure every feedback is taken seriously. I mean, right now, for example, on a platform, if any female passenger rates us less than 3, we make sure that we address that in priority to make sure that it doesn't repeat again. So right now we do 3 million rides every day. Out of that, 1 million rides happen from women passengers. So the scale at which that we are operating, make sure that we can't take any shortcuts, and we need to prioritize a lot of operations and make sure that grievances are minimal. So it is a system driven and it is automation. So the combination of these two is what makes sure that at scale we are able to manage the operations.
So from your last answer, I have two follow-up questions. I'll put one after the other. First is, you spoke about women, riders. Is it also because of your initiative called Bike Pink? Is that the reason, or it's organic?
Yeah, so if you see the journey in the last 10 years, obviously initially the focus was how do you get the product market fit of a bike taxi in itself. And slowly as you started, the reason of if 70 to 80% of this room is using Rapido, that means that we are no more solving for a particular segment of users, we are solving for everyone. So, and that's where the women passengers also becomes a core part of our offerings. So to increase the women penetration further, from right now 30% of our rides happen from women passengers, so we want to take it to as high as 50%. So for that, one of the goal is to bring women drivers or captains, and that's where our recent initiative of Pink Mobility, where from bike to auto to cab, we are going to encourage women drivers to come onto the platform, and we are going to do much more than just onboarding them. So if you look at how we onboard is we do background verification, and whoever has a bike, they can come and join on our platform. But what we realized is if you want to bring more and more women drivers on board, then you have to solve multiple problems. It's just that you need to train them how to drive a bike, maybe you need to help them to buy a bike or an auto, and make sure that they drive safely as well to the women passengers. So, and when they're on the road, even their safety is taken care of. So because we have to do multiple problems than just onboarding them, so we have launched a Pink Mobility as an initiative internally to encourage women to come to the gig economy, and then make sure their livelihoods are taken care of and they are self-independent from their earnings point of view as well. So we launched that not just for a bike, even for auto. We have women captains who drive autos, and with the help of few government partnerships, we are also getting more women with the help of some subsidies, at the same time via partnership with the governments, to make sure that the word has been spread beyond the metro cities, to make sure that they know about the offering and then they can come and work in the metropolitan cities.
So you're not helping them, you're not lending them, you're helping them secure whatever offerings are there to, all right, great.
Yeah, we are bringing multiple partners and
Yeah.
make sure that end-to-end is taken care of.
Great, okay, yeah. The second follow-up question from your previous answer is that you said about 250 cities. I know, I mean, usually people start you pilot an HSR layout or Hebel, and then you go out and spread. But you started, I mean, obviously you also maybe probably piloted in Bangalore, but your actual business you started in tier 2, 3 cities, and then you came back to tier 1 cities. What was the strategy? What was the thinking here? Because you were using bikes, so you thought the urban people would not appreciate it, or what was it?
Yeah, I think again that's where even how I have started, right? We want to do things differently. Mobility was already there when Rapido has started, and there are multiple local and global players who are already operating. So our idea was the penetration of ride sharing was still not happening. It's just that people, the brands are known, but it is not penetrated deep. So that's where we said tier one, maybe we know there is a product market fit, but if you're able to crack a tier two market, then the market is a lot more deeper and the impact is even more real. Because if you imagine what happens right now in job creation in India, right? Everyone comes to metropolitan cities and then they work and then they make the livelihood. But our belief was if you're able to create local employment in tier two and tier three markets, then the impact and number of people it can touch is huge. So right now we are really proud when we go to tier two, tier three cities, people work in their local city than coming to the metropolitan city, right? I mean, someone from Mysore, someone from Shivamogga can work there compared to coming to Bangalore and then working as a part-time. And there are a lot of students who work with us right after their college. So what we realized is the impact of tier two and tier three is multifold compared to just operating in a metropolitan cities. And hence our second city that we launched after Bangalore is a smaller city like Mysore. And then once we have proven that it is working in tier two as well, and again we came back to tier one cities. But now in last 6 months, we launched around 100 cities. And the idea is to launch at least 500 cities by end of this year. And we want to be present in every district throughout the country, because one of the big advantage for the problem that we are solving is unemployment is real and mobility solutions are not available in tier 2, tier 3, especially public transport. So in a market where there is a good public transport, we generally complement the public transport. People use us to go to metro or a bus stop. But in a city where there is no good public transport, we are the public transport in those villages and towns. So, and hence our idea is we want to, irrespective of the kind of a city, we want to provide that solution and we want to create local employment. So that is something which the impact that we have been working on in terms of creating local employment, women employment in the tier 2, tier 3 cities along with tier 1.
From the way you describe it, I sense it that you're looking at volume more. You're at the volume play. And I think that brings me to my another question, which is your captain-centric approach and which actually forced others also. That's why the name of the session also that disrupting the disruptor, because those guys disrupted how we were using taxi bikes and taxi auto rickshaws and all. So how did this idea, I mean, I'm sure that there was Nama Yatri also was doing something similar, but what was your thinking that you want more captains to be on your platform, I believe, right?
Yeah, so what we have seen in traditional ride sharing, I mean, when we have started and over the course of time till COVID, it is highly, the penetration was not happening. There are already, let's say, auto rickshaw drivers and cab drivers who are present offline, but they're not coming online, or they're not giving a great experience to the consumer. Like your ETS are high, prices are high, the drivers are not happy, customers are not happy, and there are more and more drivers who are offline, but they're not coming online. So that's where we realized the biggest hindrance for them to come online is because of the commission. And we said, why not get rid of commission completely? And then we launched our 2, 3-wheeler and 4-wheeler business without taking any commission and just by charging a mere subscription fee as less as 20 rupees to 40 rupees per day, and they can have access to earn as much as they want. Right? So that is something where the reason is because if you look at the philosophy within Rapido and the reason of why we have started is to create impact at scale. So when you're creating impact at scale, generally the way that you think about creating impact is very different compared to when you're trying to maximize your margins, your commissions, right? So that's where our idea is if you're able to make the similar amount, but by not taking commission and moving into a SaaS model, so that's what we are right now, I would say, present throughout the country, and we mastered it throughout the country in multiple categories, not just in 3-wheeler and 4-wheeler as well. And this, what it makes is right now, the drivers are happy and the consumers are happy because we are taking care of the driver need, which is earning more, and we are taking care of customer need because of the ETA, the availability time, the time it takes for the driver to come and pick. At the same time, there is an instant payment that happens between the customers and drivers as well. And at the same time, all this by taking care of our costs by charging a mere subscription fee. So that is because we come with an intent of we want to the both sides of marketplace has to see the highest value without having any complicated commission structures in way. So I think that's the reason of why I would say the industry has changed in the last 2 years. This industry before Rapido entered was growing just at 20% year on year or less than that. The cab business is growing less than 10%. But right now, just in last 1 year, we grew 5 times in our cab business. And in overall, we more than doubled in the last 2 years. Every year we have been doubling from the last 3 years.
All right, so that teaches us that, scaling up at times at probably at lower margins is also important. So we have a couple of minutes more. With your permission, let me check if there are any questions in the room, or I'll have more questions. Any questions? I see a hand there. Can we have a mic there, please?
Good evening, sir. Your story is really inspiring. So my question is, did you face any resistance from traditional transport operators like auto drivers? And if so, how did you tackle it?
Yeah, thanks, man. What is your age?
Sir, I'm 13-year-old.
Wow, man. I didn't ask the question from the audience till I'm 28-year-old or something, right? So it's great to see you coming to the events as well. Yeah, I mean, so I would say anything that you start or anything that you're disrupting, the challenge is you might challenge the status quo. But what we have done is we optimize their earnings. We increase their earnings by making sure they earn more on the online platforms. The benefit of online platforms is it takes care of the efficiency of the driver side, because you might be standing in this lane and you might not know what are the orders that are available, like say 100 meters away as well. That's what the online platforms gave, and that's what the drivers slowly started appreciating us. So how it started might be because they are not aware of what we are up to, but slowly as they're understanding in terms of what we bring onto the table right now, I would say that we are the market leaders in auto rickshaw business. We do more number of orders in auto rickshaw than anyone else in the country. And in majority of the city, our auto rickshaw business is comparable to our bike taxi business as well. So, yeah.
Okay. So, that brings me to another question, and that young guy reminds me of that, is India's demography in some way helped your business really? Because 65% of the people are 35 years or less, and they're more frugal, they're more prudent, ready to experiment with all sorts of, things. So do you think that really helped your business and your kind of thinking?
Yeah, maybe definitely in the initial days, because when we introduced the concept of bike taxi, the biggest, or whomever we used to talk, they used to say that will people sit behind a stranger? I think that initial push was needed for people to see that someone else is using, and hence maybe I can also use it. That's where how our women penetration has gone up as well, right? Maybe someone was using and someone has seen that women is sitting. Maybe they're sitting by putting a bag in between. They know how to sit behind a stranger. And slowly now it's a norm where more and more people know what to expect from bike taxi, and also it's a safer mode of transport. So definitely young crowd was the initial PMF, but now it is beyond just youngsters.
All right. So we've finished the time. So thank you, Aravind, for joining us. And I'll just add to what I heard him saying, that in India, we know how to sit on taxis. He had a very tough time raising money because foreigners wouldn't understand that they were not able to sit on the bike. I heard you saying a few days back. So tell us very quickly what was that incident?
Yeah, I mean,
I found it very funny actually that wo baith nahi pa rahe the, and so they couldn't understand that what business is this. Probably is that the story?
Yeah, I mean, in general, if you see the product that we were solving for, I would say, someone who is looking at affordability in the initial days, because that was our pitch. But what we realized when we were talking to investors was investors were not our target customers. It's not that they book a bike to go from one place to other, at least back then. So they were not able to appreciate on why should we even exist when there are auto rickshaws and cabs that are already there. So that is not, that is also Indian investors and also foreign investors. The challenge was, first of all, they don't know bike means. For them, bike means cycle here. That's what they call bike, right? And when I say that sitting two people on a bike, they're not able to visualize first, right? And then sitting behind someone, again, they're not able to visualize. First visualization is fine, and then when they come to India and then they ask them to sit on a bike, they don't know how to balance on a bike, right? So it's like, as a user, if you're not able to appreciate, then maybe you're not able to write a check, right? So, I mean, these are some of the problems when you are raising early on, and when you are early into the market in some way. But obviously, after the first 3-4 years of not raising a lot of capital, after that, we are fortunate to raise enough capital over the course of last 2 to 3 years to make where we are.
Correct. So I think that's the problem of early movers, but definitely you have come a long way and we wish you all the best. You've really disrupted a place where it was really difficult to even think about, because, you've created an asset light, and, you've created something which you can scale easily, because trust me, I am a user of your service, and this is what the feedback has been, that they're on your platform because they're getting the money, the commissions are low, and I think that's what they're also there to earn money. So you're creating wealth in a way for them also, Aravind. Thank you so much.